Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first segment of Chi Central Office's online alpha management retreat for the end of spring 2020. This is the first segment of the program, which I'm calling Pursuing Excellence in Isolation in response to the current situation all of our groups are facing. This is an unprecedented situation, and how well you, as a leader in your alpha, plan and respond to this crisis will set the foundation for your Brotherhood's performance in the coming year. There are many challenges that all of our members are facing, personally, mentally, academically, and professionally. And it is times like this where a family like Kaisai matters most. I encourage you to connect with the brothers of your alpha, especially those who you may not interact with as often. I hope this program helps to bring you closer together with your alpha and your brotherhood as you plan to meet this challenge together and recover from this situation to become a stronger fraternity. This program, the Online Alpha Management Retreat, will take place in recorded sections over the month of April with discussion and reflection questions in between each segment. I encourage you to follow the steps exactly as they are outlined, but understand that there are many other priorities right now for yourself and your brothers. That being said, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and think about the ways that you can further your fraternity. This program will be what you make of it. Whether you're a chairholder, executive committee member, the number one, or a new member, there are ways that each and every one of you can support your alpha right now and in the future. So with the coronavirus situation, I want you to think about what your number one priority is to your alpha. This isn't including your other personal and maybe professional or academic obligations. This is your number one priority to your fraternity. I want you to think about that for a few seconds. First and foremost, the most important thing that you can do right now is support and be there for your brothers. As a leader in your organization, you should be making sure that all of your men, including your new members, are safe, healthy, and engaged in school. After learning and familiarizing yourself with the baseline health of your members, you can start exploring fraternity operations and ways to keep your alpha engaged remotely. You need to be your brother's keeper during these times. So, after you have ensured these things, what should some of your other priorities be? How can you continue operating as an alpha if you are not on campus, outside of your lodge, away from school? These are important questions and takeaways, and the following slides are all framed as questions because although I will give you some suggestions throughout this video for each of these topics, it's important that you and your leadership determine what is going to work best for the men of your alpha. So for you personally, I want you to ask yourself, if you're a position holder or a member or the number one, whatever position you're coming into this program in, how are you continuing to perform your position during this time? What can you be doing? This is not just a free reign to let your responsibilities to your alpha lapse. Yes, you do have other priorities, as everybody does. You know, we are all trying to get through these days. But if you haven't, you should be pushing yourself to think about how you can perform your position. If you're the Brotherhood chair, are you organizing video game tournaments for the Alpha or Netflix watch parties? If you are the academics chair, are you looking up resources for remote studying for your Brotherhood? Are you trying to set up video conferencing study hours? There are things that you can be doing that will need to be creative and outside of the box right now. So I encourage you to think of that. And if you're not a position holder, what you can be doing is checking in on your brothers, particularly ones that you know may be struggling right now for a variety of reasons. This is an unprecedented situation. And like I said, first and foremost, your responsibility is to look after one another in the alpha. So the next question is, how can you be planning for the short, middle, and long-term goals of your position? For the short term, we'll characterize that as the remainder of the spring. So what do you need to do to round out the semester when people will be, focused on school and grades and the rest of the, things that constitute the college experience, which have now been pushed remotely. The middle term being, the summer and the beginning of fall, and then the long term being the next academic year. Many of you are now going to be in the middle of your position terms, but some of you may be coming up on the end. So whether you are halfway through your position or whether you are needing to transition your replacement, how are you planning for the short, middle, and long term? These things are important because even though the short term is so uncertain, this situation will pass. And it's important for you to be considering how the alpha will come through on the other side of this. And the organization will not be in a strong place if everybody just decides to stop working on behalf of the alpha. The next thing that I want you to consider is Brotherhood Engagement. Just because your alpha is outside of a lodge or a physical structure does not mean that this fraternity isn't more important now than ever. People are, sheltering in place. They are socially distant. They are isolated. And during these times, connection and engagement are more important than ever. So I want you to ask yourself, how is your alpha continuing to engage members while nobody is on campus? Are you hosting weekly video calls? Are you playing the same games with one another? Or are you in a Discord channel for your alpha? These are important things to let your members know, your brothers know that they are, they are cared for, and give everybody an outlet to get away from this situation, and a great opportunity to remind one another why you decided to join a family fraternity like Chi Psi. And then the next question is, how are you keeping your new members engaged and completing their Chi Psi education? So many of you are having to delay your new member education processes and the completion of those processes. And in order to keep your new members around and interested in the fraternity, you need to be completing their new member education remotely. If you haven't yet, I strongly encourage you to include the new members in your communication to your active members, because they have a stake in the alpha too. They may not be initiated men yet, but it is crucial that you help retain them and keep them interested and invested in Chi Psi. And this can be your chance to show your new members how, when the situation gets tough, the fraternity comes together and sticks together during situations like this. So if you or your alpha have just decided to postpone new member education, I strongly encourage you to do everything in your ability to continue it online and set the foundation for completing their education in the fall. And if you're confused about timelines with stuff like this, in terms of completing their new member education, I encourage you to reach out to the central office or your Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life on your campus and see what some guidelines and recommendations are for this if you want to explore it further. So next, we're going to talk about academics. So many students, the benefit of a physical campus is that you have a community of students all working together towards pursuing academic excellence, hopefully, right? So if you, not just if you are the scholarship chair, but if you are a member who is now finding yourself completing remote classwork, which is something you may never have anticipated doing. Online classes are a totally different method of learning, and not everybody succeeds in that channel. So I want you to ask yourself, how is your alpha supporting remote classwork, and how can you start supporting remote classwork? Are there ways to connect the Brotherhood through academics that will help productivity and online learning? The answer is yes. You just need to push the bounds of your thinking and remind yourself that right now, school is still happening. All of our campuses are completing educational courses. They are just having to retrofit them for online. And this looks different based on the community, but I guarantee you a lot of your brothers right now are struggling to stay focused and motivated because online classes can be a difficult adjustment. And if you don't want your group's grades to suffer, I strongly encourage you to set up remote study hours, connect brothers that are all in the same major formally, continue to share resources that your school is providing for transitioning to remote learning. There are a lot of things that you can do to connect with one another on this topic to make sure that your grades don't take a hard hit because of the transition to remote learning. Recruitment. So this is kind of hard to envision right now because of all of the uncertainty of the short term, but it is absolutely essential for your alpha to stay on track with planning for summer recruitment and strategizing for fall recruitment. You need to be thinking about what are the high school seniors who are living through this situation right now going to want in a fraternity. I encourage you to ask yourself, what does brotherhood look like? If it's not hanging out in the same spaces and just going to parties together and being generally around one another, what is the value of Chi Psi? And why is it more important now than ever to have organizations like ours to help keep people connected during times of challenge? These are going to be really important, considerations and messaging for the men who are coming onto your campus in the fall, who have lived their senior years have been stolen from them. They did not get to have the senior hurrah, and many of them are going to have online orientations. Many campuses are canceling in-person orientations, which is also a big point of recruitment for our alphas. So these are going to be important considerations for sustaining the membership of your alpha and the growth of your alpha. So I encourage you to start thinking of these questions now if you haven't already. And for more research, I encourage you to check out Fired Up's blog with the link on this slide, and to schedule a chapter builder demonstration by emailing me at dwalker@chi-sci.org, or if you want to, you can just Google chapter builder demonstration. But all 32 of our alphas have a chapter builder account that is utilized to streamline the recruitment process, which is going to be more important now than ever, especially since the foundation of your future recruitment plans are going to need to be set up remotely. So I encourage you to start thinking about these questions and exploring these resources for recruitment. Budgeting. So if you're not the treasurer or an executive officer, this one may be slightly over your pay grade, but I do encourage you to think about what your alpha's current budget situation is, not just if you're one of those positions. And if you're a chairholder, but you're not an executive committee member, what did you save money on this semester in your position? If you're the social chair, there's a good chance you likely have a lot of surplus in your budget. So how can you be using any extra funding to serve the Brotherhood right now? It is going to be very important that your financial situation is completely understood and stable rolling into the fall, because there are still, bills that need to be paid, and there are still, events that our alphas want to host. So I encourage you, if you haven't yet, to reflect on the budget situation, both for whatever is under your purview and for the alpha at large. Housing. So this is going to be somewhat targeted to our lodged groups, but is also relevant if you are an unlodged group. Like, what ongoing maintenance needs to occur at the lodge, or whatever off-campus housing your brotherhood calls home, whether it is an informal lodge off campus or just a place where a lot of brothers meet together. Right now, the housing situation is going to be pretty uncertain moving into next semester. And if you have signed leases with apartments or houses or, to live in the lodge, I strongly encourage you to learn more about their policies relating to this current situation and just make sure that you are staying prepared and informed. That's really all that you can do at this point. Like I said, there is a lot of uncertainty right now, of course, but the better that you plan and prepare for the future, the better off you will be. And that goes for whether you have an official lodge or if you are just a brother living with other brothers in an off campus house. I encourage you to consider this. Communication. So, have you and your alpha been in touch with your new members? That one is at the top because if you have not been remotely engaging your new members, you need to start that yesterday. That is going to be one of the most important things that you can do right now is make sure that your new men feel a part of this brotherhood and feel the impact of a fraternity in these times. Your alumni advisory boards and housing corporations, the alumni volunteers that care about your alpha and have a stake in your alpha, I would encourage you and your leadership to make sure that you are in contact with these groups and that just everybody is on the same page about what is going on. And for the housing corporations, that can help, bridge communication, particularly towards living in the lodge next semester. University officials and fraternity and sorority life professionals, I'm sure that you have been saturated with communication from your campuses. However, it is still important if you are confused about specific policies to utilize your fraternity and sorority life professionals. They are feeling the impact of this just as you are, and they want our alphas to stay safe, stay healthy, and be productive during this time as well. You may be saying to yourself right now, that's not my job. None of these things that I've been talking about are your direct responsibility or in your job description. And that may be true, but it is your job to help your brothers and new members continue their engagement and relationship with the alpha during this crisis. And even if what you take from this is helping them be motivated with ideas and reminders in pursuit of this goal, or even if what you can do is just say, hey, watch the online alpha management retreat and get some ideas for your position, that can be a step towards keeping your alpha afloat during these times. Please do your part in keeping your brothers up to date on the balls that they should not be dropping just because education is now online. The remote nature of the rest of this semester is not freelance to just forget about your responsibilities to your alpha. That being said, we at the central office are completely aware of all of the other priorities and things that are pulling your attention right now. It is still important that you help keep your alpha on a strong foot so that you can pivot towards success in the fall and over the summer. How well you make use of this time and plan for the future will determine the success of your alpha moving out of this crisis. If you just decide to let it all drop and forget everything that you were supposed to be working on for your alpha, then you will enter the fall as an organization in a much weaker place than your peers who have been planning and being proactive and pushing new ideas and moving forward. So I encourage you with your brothers, with your executive committee members, shareholders, new members, to make use of this time and plan for the future within your capacity and ability right now, based on the other priorities in your life. Before watching the next segment, there are a few things that I'm going to ask you to complete in order to make the most of this program. In consideration of being your brother's keeper, being your top priority right now, I strongly want encourage you to connect with 3 brothers or new members that you have not spoken to in a while and see how they are doing personally. That personal connection, that investment in one another is what distinguishes a fraternity like Chi Psi. And that's why this is your number one assignment before the next segment. The other things are information gathering. This segment of the program was primarily focused on the short-term situation with the coronavirus. But pivoting into the next segments, we're going to be looking at more middle and long-term planning, which is more of the traditional alpha management retreat material. So before the next segment, I want you to gather your university calendar and important dates for the summer and fall, like orientations, start times for classes, any holidays over the fall or significant university events like homecoming, and make sure that you have those in front of you or on your personal calendar. And then next, your Alpha's organization chart. We're going to talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities within the Alpha. And if you do not have a strong understanding of how your organization works, I encourage you to ask. And some of our groups have this chart saved somewhere. And if they don't, well, now is a great time to consider this. And it's something we'll talk about in the next segment. Also, what I want you to do is discuss and reflect on the following questions with a partner before the next segment. So, what is your alpha demographically, numerically, and physically? Who do you serve internally and externally? How do you serve? And the last one, which is the most important, is why is Chi Psi important, especially now? I hope that you will take some time to consider these 4 questions before viewing the next segment. I also want to provide everybody with a reminder about Talkspace. If you've been seeing our emails and seeing our social media posts, then this is just another reminder that the Chi Psi Central Office pays for an anonymous online therapy platform called Talkspace that instantly connects you with a trained mental health professional via a mobile app. All Chi Psi brothers get 3 months of Talkspace membership annually through the fraternity. And I'm mentioning this specifically again because Talkspace has a COVID-19 anxiety management program, which some of you may want to check out. All brothers were emailed a login code for Talkspace. So please search your email box for this login code. But if you can't find it because it was sent a long time ago, please email support@talkspace.com to preserve your anonymity, and they will email you a free 3-month membership code to use. And lastly, for more Chi Psi resources, please visit Chi Psi's coronavirus landing page at www.chipsi.org/C19 for more information on how to operate and engage your alpha during this time, ideas for staying connected. We have a blog linked on there for stories of how brothers are tackling these challenges. And you can find more information on there to follow how the fraternity is addressing the situation. You can also follow Chi Psi on social media. Thanks for viewing the first segment of the Alpha Management Retreat, and stay safe, brothers.